On a quiet stretch of land in west central Missouri sits a 125-year-old farmhouse built in 1901 by my husband's family. These walls have seen generations grow, fields planted and harvested, babies raised, and a whole lot of life lived in between. And today, we're raising the next generation here on the very same Century farm. I'm Brittney, the Homestead dreamer behind my lilac hill. Most days, you'll find me in the garden with dirt in my hands, in the kitchen preserving the harvest, or out in the barn milking our family cow. I'm also raising and homeschooling our children, teaching them not just how to live, but how to live well, with intention, gratitude, and with a deep appreciation for the life that we've been given. And there's our little farm store, a piece of this life that we get to share with our community, from fresh milk to homegrown goods, all rooted in the work that we do right here. My husband Kyle is the farmer. He works this land alongside his parents, raising row crops and cattle, continuing a legacy that started long before us. Farming isn't just what he does, it's who he is. Together, we're building a life that's a little slower, a little more intentional, and deeply rooted in faith, family, and hard work. This life isn't always easy. There's a lot of early mornings and long days, unpredictable seasons, and plenty of lessons learned along the way. But it's also full of beauty. Sunsets over the pasture, the sound of calves playing in the spring, home-cooked meals around the table, and quiet moments that remind us exactly why we chose this life. Here at My Lilac Hill, we believe in making the most of what we have and finding joy in every day. Whether we're sharing farm days, homesteading routines, seasonal rhythms, or the simple moments in between, we're so glad you're here with us. This is more than just a farm. It's our home, our story, and a legacy we're honored to carry forward. This is My Lilac Hill, where faith, family, and farm life come together one season at a time. It is a Saturday morning, and I figured I would just bring you along for the weekend. I have some plans of doing some more seed starting. Since I discovered yesterday that the heat dried out all my winter sowing jugs, I'm pretty confident they're not going to germinate now. So I'm going to start another round, and I'm going to use a cold frame outdoors to do it because I don't want my daughter getting into them in the house, although I might try and find space for a few things to be started inside. I also need to clean up our cellar this weekend because Monday is our Azure Standard pickup, and the cellar in our pantry area needs some work. So I need to do that this weekend. I need to get my arch trellis installed this weekend. I need to get my tropical plants that I overwintered. I don't know, I might not do that today. The 90-degree weather has me really excited, but it's also still only March 21st in west central Missouri, and we could have snow in April, so I think I won't do that. I worked really hard to overwinter a tropical hibiscus, and it's blooming. I'll put a picture right here. But it's blooming in my mudroom, and so it got me excited, but maybe I should hold off on that. But anyways, lots of work to do in the garden, and I am so excited to get this transformation started. So I'm gonna head out to the garden and start getting to work, and I thought I'd just kind of bring you along. It's probably gonna be a pretty hodgepodge, thrown together, bits and pieces type of a vlog just over the whole weekend. So let's see what we can get done. So since my winter sowing may or may not work this year because it got so hot so quickly and my jugs dried out a little bit, I am gonna do some seeds in here as backup. I wasn't planning on using the seed starting frame this year, but I don't want to buy 100 and something tomato plants and eggplant and all that for the garden. So I grabbed some tomato seeds and eggplant seeds. I have pepper seeds started inside, so I did not grab those. And a lot of the other things I direct sow, so it's not as critical, but I need my tomatoes to be started from seed or it's just not cost effective for me. So we're gonna try this. What I did here is just a bag of potting soil, and you saw me kind of flip it over and then cut the top out. I cut the top out so I can start my seeds in here, and the reason I had flipped it over was because I had it laying the other way and poked a bunch of holes in it for drainage. So now I flipped that over to be the bottom, and this will now be the top. And I've got some popsicle sticks and a UV resistant marker and my seeds. So earlier when I was out here seed starting in my little cold frame, it got so hot that the heat shut my camera on my phone off because it was too hot, it was overheating. So most of it was not filmed, but I did finish that, and it was so hot that I went inside. Not really used to 92 degrees in March, and we don't even have shade yet. So it was very hot. So Maggie and I spent most of the day inside relaxing. She had a really nice long nap. And then we came out here to swing for a little bit, and now she's just walking around the yard with me, exploring and having fun like a 15-month-old baby should be doing. So we're just hanging out. I probably won't get much else done today. It's Saturday. Probably end up doing most of it tomorrow because I will have my husband's help tomorrow afternoon after church. And also it's only supposed to be 77 for a high tomorrow, which is much nicer. Maggie, don't grab the dog. Which is much nicer than 92. So we'll see what we can get done. You're okay. Dad's not down here. Daddy's over at Grammy and Papa's. Well, I didn't get as much done on Saturday as I had really hoped to, but Maggie and I sure did enjoy our time outside. And now it is 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and I'm just trying to get in a little bit of quiet time in the Word before I get my busy morning started. If you live on a farm, Sunday mornings are not the quiet, peaceful, relaxing mornings that a lot of people that don't live on a farm might experience. They are pretty stressful and chaotic. It starts with me waking up very early and trying to get as much done before Kyle gets up at 6. And when he gets up at 6, he has to rush to do all of the farm feeding chores while I get breakfast going and take care of the kids so that we can get to church on time. We still have 2 or 3 hours worth of farm chores and animal feeding to do before we go to church in the morning. So Sundays are very hectic. And on this particular Sunday, I also needed to get our cellar straightened up because we have our Azure Standard pickup tomorrow morning, and I need somewhere to go with the 245 pounds worth of food that I ordered. And our cellar was an absolute nightmare. There was just piles of stuff everywhere. We've been so busy this year that I have not been able to keep up with any of my systems in the house. Everything is disorganized and there's piles everywhere, and I'm slowly but surely reclaiming the house. But this room just really needed my attention. So I'm just down there putting away the Costco groceries that I had gotten on Monday that I had not yet put away. Gonna try and clean up a little bit of the trash, move some things around so that we have space for some more 5-gallon buckets worth of bulk dry goods to come downstairs, and straighten up our laundry table. The laundry table is down here really not to fold laundry, because we don't fold laundry down here. We do that upstairs. But it's more to be a catch-all for my husband, because he comes in from doing his chores and working. He comes straight into the cellar. It does have an outdoor entrance as well as an indoor entrance, which is so convenient, because when he is filthy from the farm, I mean, he could be covered in oil or grease or manure or bean seed, which bean seed is the worst. The dust from the beans is so bad. And instead of him tracking all of that into the house, he just comes straight into the cellar. He takes all of his work stuff off. He empties his pockets onto this table. He has his own basket for his work clothes that need to be washed, and then he has a dresser down here that he keeps his clothes in that he would wear up to the house. So he comes in and he changes before he ever even steps foot in the house, and I so appreciate him for that, because it helps keep the house clean. Now, we live on a gravel road and we live on a farm, and this house is 125 years old with the original wood flooring. And when I say the original wood flooring, the wood floors that we walk on in the house is it. There is no subfloor. Underneath of that is crawl space. So with the wind and everything, the dust from the gravel roads, it does come into our house a lot, and it makes it very hard to keep things clean. And by him using this table and the system that we have down here to change out of his work clothes, it really helps me to keep the house clean, and I'm very appreciative. So I'm just straightening this up for him and cleaning it off so that it's ready for a new week, and getting everything ready for more groceries. And then after that, I headed upstairs to start making breakfast. My goal was to get the cellar cleaned up and get breakfast done before Kyle and Maggie woke up, and I was almost successful. Maggie woke up while I was finishing up breakfast, but that's okay. This particular morning, we are having like a fake McGriddle from McDonald's. It's basically sausage and pancake casserole, and it's very quick and it's very easy, and I don't have to measure anything really. I just kind of throw things together, and it usually works, and it was delicious. It's also one of our favorites just for something quick. And it also freezes well, so you can make these ahead of time and have them in the freezer and just heat them up. So it's really, really good for busy mornings. And so right now I'm just mixing up the pancake batter. It's just whatever pancake batter you like to use, just make it how you normally do. And then I add a little bit of syrup and a little bit of shredded cheese to that batter. And then I'll just pour that over some ground sausage. Now, I ground my sausage in a cast iron pan, and I can just leave it all in that pan, pour the batter over it, and stick that pan straight in the oven. So it's also a really quick and easy meal to clean up afterwards, because there's not a lot of dirty dishes involved. So all around, this breakfast is a win, and if you've never tried it, you should. I don't really have a recipe to link below, but you can search McGriddle casserole or like at home McGriddle, and you'll find all kinds of recipes for it. While Sundays aren't always the most peaceful, this sunrise was absolutely beautiful, and I just had to share it with you. And this noise that you're hearing is my dog snorting and smiling at me. He does this really silly grin. There it is. Shows all of his teeth. It's not aggressive. I could see how somebody who didn't know this dog might think that's aggressive, but this is what he does to say hi. Every time I come home, he greets me like that, and I just love it. Maggie, we are ready for church early. Who are we? A lot of times you'll hear me talk about our other farm, which we call The Hill. It's right down the road from our church, and it's actually the place that I lived in before Kyle and I started dating and got married. I was Kyle's tenant. He was my landlord. That is how we met. That is how we started dating. And I used to live here. This is where I rented a couple of years ago. I have it in some of my videos. But anyways, after church, we swung by to get the cows moved onto a new pasture where Kyle had already rolled out some hay for them. Like I said, Sundays are chaotic and there's not always enough time to finish the chores before church. And that was the case for today. So he unrolled the hay, and then we had to go after church and get the cows moved across. He had actually unrolled the hay Saturday evening because he anticipated this happening. So after church, we all loaded up and went down the road to the farm. We're just kind of driving through the pasture and making sure there's no new baby calves, no issues with any of the mamas or the calves that have already been born, and just kind of rounding everybody up to move to the new pasture. And it took them a little bit to realize what we were doing, because typically if it's not calving season, Kyle just whistles for them or calls for them to move through, and they know what that means. But when we got there and we started driving through, they didn't realize we were moving to a different pasture. We do rotationally graze all of our herds. We have our cows spread out across about 3 different farms. Kyle and his family own a few different properties, and then also we rent some land from other farmers in the area, or other landowners in the area, I guess I should say. And so things are kind of spread out for us, but Kyle and I do actually own this particular property, and so we're just getting the cows moved onto some new fresh hay. And then this is actually where our brother-in-law's shop is located. So they actually rent that house from us now, and Kyle had dropped off his feed truck to get new tires, and so we're going to switch vehicles here. I'm going to drive this truck back home. Kyle's going to get his feed truck and drive it back home, and then we're going to have lunch and try to enjoy the rest of our Sunday afternoon. All right, I'll see you at home. I will. So with the wind, we can't put Miss Maggie in her pack and play because it keeps blowing over. So she's on my back. But also that means I'm not going to be as much help with driving the T-post because I don't want her right next to all that loud clanging noise. And I have her on my back. So Kyle is stepping in and helping me. And we're going to try and get a little bit of work done. I had to go put pants on. I was wearing shorts. And Maggie was wearing shorts. And it is dropping in temperature like crazy. It was much warmer this morning than it is now. And that north wind is bringing in the cold front. So probably have to get a jacket before too long. I put Maggie in long sleeves, and with her being on me, she should be okay, but we'll keep an eye on it. We'll add a jacket if we need it. Yeah, it's not the lovely sunny day that I was hoping for, but we're gonna try and get some work done. I am also testing out my new mic. I hope that it is working. It's actually not new. I've had it for 2 years, but this is the first time that I've used it. I got it right before I got pregnant with Maggie, and then everything was just chaotic and I never used it. And then I forgot it existed, but I came across it the other day, and so we're gonna try it out, see if it helps with all this wind noise. I can't have my tripod out here because it will just blow over. So I'm gonna have to put the phone down because I'm going to carry the T-posts over since Kyle is going to be driving them. So while I'm carrying them down, I'm gonna put the phone down and we'll be able to film them. The wind bothering you? I said we might not be able to stay out much longer. She seems like the wind is bothering her. Well, we ended up having to come inside. If it was just Kyle and I out there, we probably could have suffered through it. But that wind was so miserable, and we didn't want Miss Maggie getting an ear infection or just being out there and getting cold, or the wind was just miserably uncomfortable. So we came inside.